Hey guys, it's Reed with Rapid Response Training. Obviously kind of an ad hoc video here, but talking about tourniquets, okay? So going over some basic stuff. These are real important. They save a lot of lives. Why do we need to use a tourniquet? We're gonna use a tourniquet for arterial bleeding from an extremity, okay? So some clues that might indicate we've got arterial bleeding is bright red blood. That's going to be the oxygenated blood, right? That's flowing, that your heart is pumping out. And oftentimes, arteries are very high pressure, so oftentimes it's going to be spurting, okay? Other times we might use a tourniquet if it's not arterial blood, but we've tried some packing, some direct pressure. We've been unable to achieve that. We've been unable to stop the bleeding that way. We might use a tourniquet, or when in doubt, use a tourniquet, okay? These, especially like in the context of society, like we live in a town or a city or a county with EMS resources and things like that, we're not gonna damage ourselves by putting on a tourniquet. So it's very, very safe. So how does a tourniquet work? What it does is it cuts off the blood flow to the damaged artery, thereby preventing any blood from coming out. So we want to keep the blood inside the body where it belongs, right? So and how it does that is it compresses the artery against a bone, right? So it's not just that this is getting tight, but it's that it's compressing it against a bone. So that's why we use tourniquets, how they work. Now we're going to talk about some actual employment of tourniquets. So we'll talk about staging. So you can see this here. I have the wings open, therefore I can access the windlass, okay? That's going to be important. We also want to carry this, we want to have about 2 inches. This is closer to 3-4. Insert joke about not knowing how many inches here. Through the buckle, okay? The reason why is we want to have a big loop. We can get over a shoe or a boot, but we want to have something to grab onto here to use, right? To grab onto and pull. So additionally, we want to keep this staged, fold it up in such a way we can deploy this one-handed. So the way I have this staged, I can go ahead and whip that thing out and make it into my big loop. And I'll do a short, probably a YouTube short, and then like post that on social media about how I stage these, how I fold them, that I find works pretty well. So how are we going to do this? So pre-deployment, whatever our patient is or ourselves, we're going to take anything out of the pockets that could prevent a tourniquet from working properly. So that could be like, you know, big pocket knife, a flashlight, a pistol magazine, maybe it's a medical kit carried in the pocket, something like that, a radio, anything, phones, right? Anything that's going to prevent us from getting the compression and pressing that tourniquet against, or pressing the artery against the bone, right? Next big point is we want to do this quickly. So if we have an arterial bleed, like a really aggressive one, like a severed brachial artery, for example, we could lose, or femoral, we can lose consciousness in 30 seconds. So it's very, very critical that we get this thing on as fast as we possibly can. If it's buddy aid, I might have some time to treat a buddy who's gone unconscious before they die. But for myself, if I go unconscious, that's it, right? Can't count on anybody getting to me. So quickly, next, we want to apply high and tight on the injured extremity. So if I have a wound down here, I want to apply it high and tight as I can put it without being over the joint, of course. So why do we do it high and tight? And this is going to be controversial. If you disagree, great. Excuse the jet noise. Sorry about that. If you can hear that, Navy's just doing what Navy does. So why do we want to go high and tight? So we eliminate any error, right? If we're doing the whole, 2 inches above the wound thing, maybe we don't get high enough. okay? So we eliminate any error. We also eliminate any decision making. So tourniquet goes on the same way every single time, which leads to increased speed. We don't have to, an automatic response will result in faster application and increased survivability. I don't have to evaluate, really. All I have to say is arterial bleeding, arm, tourniquet high and tight. That's it. Additionally, arteries are elastic, okay? If you've seen the movie Black Hawk Down, it shoots up into his pelvis, right? His femoral artery that they're trying to clamp. So if I have a wound down here, I place the tourniquet above the wound, but the artery has retracted because it's been severed up higher into the arm, and the end of the injured artery is above where I place the tourniquet's doing nothing, right? Another reason why we go high and tight, right? And also there could be another injury upstream that we failed to identify, right? We're covered in blood. It's hard to figure it out. I don't have to worry about like, there's a big hole here, but there's a little hole here, and I'm actually bleeding from here as well. And then finally, because this works by compressing the artery against the bone, we want to use a big singular bone, right? I have 2 bones, radius and ulna, in my forearm. I have 2 bones, tib fib, in my lower leg. And the body does a really good job of protecting the arteries by putting them kind of in between the 2 bones. So I'm not knowledgeable enough to say it's impossible by stopping blood flow, by tourniqueting a forearm, but don't do it. Go high and tight. So anyway, strap then wrap is our next key point that we want to talk about, okay? And what strap then wrap, here's what I mean. We want to take all the possible slack we can out with the slack of this loop, okay? So when I put this on, I need to get this as tight as I possibly can before I start messing with the windlass, okay? I'll demonstrate what that looks like. As tight as I possibly can, okay, before I start turning the windlass. The reason for that is the windlass has a very finite amount of adjustment. The ribbon that it functions with is only so long, so the windlass can only take out so much slack. We take out the vast majority of the slack with the strap, okay? So that's gonna be critical. All right, guys, I talked about strap then wrap. We can turn this windlass until it breaks. It won't do anything for us unless we've got all the slack out, okay? Proper orientation. So when I apply this tourniquet, it's important to me that the windlass is accessible. So clearly, like way on the backside of the tricep, not really good, but really, really terrible, like non-starter in the armpit or the groin, okay? So we want to orient this tourniquet so that the windlass is accessible. And then for self-application, you'll notice the tail end is toward my body. It's not away from my body. That's critical because pulling away, almost impossible to get the proper tension. So I need it toward me so I can pull all the way in and get the strap then wrap. So I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate effective pressure with this tourniquet. You'll notice that I'm doing an actual, like 3 or however many rotations that was. So this is extremely painful, but you will not die. It will be fine. When we practice this, we practice it doing it correctly, okay? We do not train to do this incorrectly. To secure the tourniquet, I'm gonna take this tail and I'm gonna wrap this tail through the wings. And if I was a small female, I might even go a second time if there was enough. And that's before I put the tab over. This is to secure and make sure that it does not come off. Let's talk about removal. How do we remove this tourniquet? You don't, okay? A surgeon in the operating room will remove this tourniquet. That is not for you to do, okay? If you want to learn that for like if you're going somewhere remote, there are different classes for that. That's not what I'm talking about. If we're talking about if there's any sort of resources at all where there's hospitals and you can make it there, you know, within a day, we're not taking this off. So for training purposes, if we are doing this, we're going to have somebody else take it off for us after verbally saying, I'm not injured, this is training, you may now remove the tourniquet. So that's how we're going to do that. And just to demonstrate my point, I'm not even going to demonstrate taking this off on the video. So that's how we're going to use this tourniquet. We apply it for arterial bleeding to an extremity. It acts by cutting off the blood flow to the damaged artery, specifically by compressing it against a bone. We're going to properly stage and pre-deploy this tourniquet. We're going to put it on quickly. We are going to apply high and tight to the injured extremity, strap, then wrap, make sure it's oriented properly and staged properly so that I can access the tourniquet. I'm pulling in toward my body, okay? And I'm not going to remove the tourniquet. Approximately 30 seconds is my standard here. So there we go. Read with rapid response training. Learn how to use a tourniquet and save your life or somebody else's. This is so much more important than the gun stuff, guys. Injuries are not gunfight specific. They happen all the time, everywhere. And this is something that anybody can do with very minimal training and gear. These are very cheap. They're like 30 bucks, 35 bucks. So yeah, go get some training. Come to me. I will do it. Or specifically, I will come to you and do it. Or somebody else, Stop the Bleed, you know, any other number of stuff. But if you don't know how to stop bleeding, you're weird. So don't be weird.